Hi everyone, as promised, here is my video about leases based on the blog that I did a couple of weeks ago. For those of you that want to give it a listen and a watch rather than read the article. I know it's later in the week, this week has been mad, no week seemed to be getting better. So I wanted to have a chat with you about leases. Now, this is something that comes up, and quite often people call me up and say, went on this course and people were talking to me about splitting leases and that's what I want to do, and it just doesn't really work in the way that a lot of people sort of sell it to be. That doesn't mean to say that it doesn't work, but the method in which it works is slightly different. Now, if you've got a block of flats and you're buying them as a block, and then your idea is to split them off into long leaseholds and then refinance them and get the aggregate value or the market value rather than the block value, often doesn't work like that. There's a couple of reasons. Firstly, if you own the freehold, as well as all of the long leases on those flats, most high street lenders won't lend to you. So therefore you're looking at a more commercial lender anyway, and they will look at how that is most likely to be sold as a block. So if you have got smaller blocks of flats where you've got, 4, 6, 8 maybe in a block, and you're looking to split them off and sell them, then obviously you're going to make some money on that. If you're looking to sort of do some works to them and then refinance them, then we could potentially look at using a market value. We are quite restricted as to the lenders that we can go to, because most lenders will just lend on a block value, and that's generally sort of 10-15% below the market value. But what you need to be looking at is, can the utilities be split off, or are they split off? Are they all more than 30 square metres? Have they all got individual access? And really importantly, is there demand for those properties as individual units? Quite often we see, especially with sort of semi-commercial property where you've got flats above shops, that actually the demand just isn't there, especially if you've got kind of city centre locations, or whether there isn't great parking. That actually, in reality, they are more likely to be sold off than as a block rather than individual units. So have a look at properties that have got that resale. Having said that, if there is already some flats that are split off out of the block, we can do that, but again, you are quite restricted as to who you can go to, so rates might be higher, experience needs to be a little bit more, but yeah, that's something that we can do. There are two things though that you can look at in terms of leases that I think are something that gets missed a lot of the time. Extending leases. This is a real area that I think, again, it is missed because often people are really scared of short leases. And I think where that comes from is, if you're buying a property to live in, generally that will be on a repayment mortgage, and you will need a longer period of time in order to pay that back off, just because of affordability. So if you've only got, for example, 65 years left on a lease, the lender will normally need you to have 55 years left at the end of the mortgage term. So you've only got 10 years to be able to pay that off. So if you need 25 years, for example, on your repayment mortgage to make it affordable for you, then that's going to be a no-go. If you're an investor, you're generally looking at an interest-only mortgage, and therefore it doesn't actually matter what the term is, your payment will be the same. So you could take out a mortgage, in my previous example, at a 10-year term, and then extend the lease within that term, and then refinance it afterwards where you've added value. You will need to pay for the lease extension yourself. Obviously have a look into that and see what the costs are going to be and what value you're going to add in total, see if it's a viable project, as always. But that's something that you can look at, and that's something where, especially in the market where the market is bonkers over most of the country, there are going to be a limited number of people that are able to do that, and investors are generally going to be the ones that can do that. So you're more likely to get a good deal on that sort of thing, because a lot of the portion of people that are available to buy property aren't going to be looking at that. Share of freehold is the other thing. Again, people can be quite scared of this, where there's a short lease or short lease on the share of freehold. Actually, extending a share of freehold lease is pretty easy. You just need to get everyone in the block, so all the leaseholders, to agree. It all happens at the same time. Normally it's free, and all the same things apply to on a short lease. So you can get an interest-only mortgage on a shorter period of time, do the lease extension, and then refinance afterwards. So they're two things that I think are a little bit underrated. A bit of a quick win, Normally you'd be doing kind of a light refurbishment on it, or no refurbishment. It may be in a completely lettable condition, so your initial costs are lower. It may take you a little bit longer to get that money back, but in the meantime, as long as you've got a good yield on there, you'll be making some money anyway. So there's my top tip for today. I will be back with talking about planning on my next video, so look out for that in the next couple of days. See you later.